Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Jett, and this is my presentation for Sociology of Gender final paper. My title is Hooray for Feminism, but what about the men? When a person thinks of certain careers, they imagine a default gender, whether they realize it or not. Many people think of a female teacher, male cooks, female nurses, and male doctors. Gendered careers are still very much a thing. For a long time throughout history, women were just expected to accept the jobs that were made available to them, while men were the ones who would take on the back-breaking physical jobs that typically garnered the most prestige. With the rise of feminism, women have entered the workforce in every job imaginable. Women that choose male-dominated jobs are hailed as trendsetters and praised for breaking the boundaries between the gender norms, as well as rocking the gender boat. In today's society, a woman is told that she can choose from any job available on the market in order to pursue her career. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a perfect example. I chose policing as a career, even though I knew going into it that I would be surrounded by many alpha male personalities with very few female colleagues. However, with the focus being on the women that choose male-dominated careers, there is a small section of the workforce that is largely ignored. That is, men who choose to work in female-dominated careers. Why do men choose female-dominated careers? Why do men not choose, female-dominated careers as often as women choose male-dominated careers? One theory is that it could be that female-dominated careers are regarded as winning gender equality, or that there are not as many men entering female-dominated jobs. However, the answer is a little less mundane than one might think. It is simply because men are less likely to enter a female-dominated job compared to vice versa, combined with the fact that there aren't that many female-dominated jobs to begin with. There are many social theories of women that choose masculine jobs, but theories that apply to men in feminine jobs are few and far between. The feminist theories tend to focus on the advancement of women and gaining the equality with men. There is also the fact that the wage gap between men and women still exists. And one theory states that as men enter the female-dominated jobs, it will raise the wages of those jobs, which will in turn cause the female wages to rival the wages of men. However, in order to test this theory, there must be further research conducted into men that choose female-dominated jobs. In an article for the American Psychological Association, the author explains that there are numerous explanations that have been offered for why men and women end up in segregated occupations. These can include employers' preference, discrimination in hiring and promotion, the persistence of norms regarding the appropriate gender for a particular job, discrimination in hiring and promotion practices, and the relative demand and supply of workers, and including economic pressures, perceived customer preferences, workers' preference and actions, women's familial obligations, and gender socialization. For example, in nursing, many women choose that career because they want to help people and provide care and support for someone who's in need, a reason that follows suit against the stereotype that women are the caregivers and the nurturers of society. Men, however, when applying to be a nurse, are assumed to be motivated by a drive to want a higher administrative position than being concerned with the physical care of the patients, meaning their end goal is not to become a nurse and work as a nurse. They want to use that as a stepping stone to be promoted into a higher administrative position. In a Regeneron Science Talent Search contest, the finalist, a high school senior from New York City, conducted their own study that determined whether participants remember details of several jobs and achievements described within the study. The study found that when the participant is reading about a typically feminine job, where they assume the worker is a female, they tend to downplay the achievements of that job. This phenomenon can determine from choosing jobs where they will be the minority, because society does not view these achievements as something accomplished, even though within the social circles where they matter, these achievements are highly regarded. Another aspect that might hinder a male wishing to enter the workforce, where most of his coworkers will be female, are the assumptions made in regard to his masculinity. Many people assume a male working in a female-dominated career is gay, such as the male hairdresser or the male nurse. This has come about because individuals at a job base their actions off of how their coworkers act and speak. A man surrounded by women will act like a woman. Society also has a long history of gendering work, where it is generally accepted there are certain jobs for women and there are certain jobs for men. Therefore, when a man chooses a job that is socially considered female, he is questioned for his choice, whereas a woman who chooses that career is not. Because of this, a man may feel pressured to overcompensate his masculinity in order to remain relevant with his peers. In an article for the Journal of Applied Social Psychology, the author states that there are many men in female-dominated occupations that redefine some of their tasks in a more masculine way in order to maintain and fit with this masculine stereotype. For example, a male may refer to his work as an administrative assistant and use the words typing work to explain that he is basically a receptionist or a secretary. When a male is the minority of a group, he will exaggerate his masculinity in order to display to outsiders that he has not been emasculated by his job. This is similar to accents. When an individual from one country moves to another area where they are the only one who speaks in that certain accent, they not only will retain the accent of their native land, but in some cases it will become progressively more pronounced. Social roles have also influenced males who choose historically feminine careers. Men are assumed to be more assertive and controlling, while women are the ones concerned with the welfare of others. This translates into the type of jobs each one chooses. For a woman that chooses a masculine job, she is regarded as a powerful figure that inspires other women. A man that chooses a feminine job, such as a hairdresser or a beautician, they are regarded with ridicule and their masculinity is brought into question. This is because men are more rigid in their adherence to gender roles than females, and someone that does not conform, such as choosing a female-dominated job, they are called out and questioned for their choices. From a young age, children are told to admire certain careers over others, with gender stereotypes causing certain jobs to be automatically eliminated from their choices. In countries like Japan, where job opportunities were previously regulated by the government, there is still a noticeable segregation between the careers that men and women choose. Children are taught gender roles from a young age in relation to the occupations. This occurs around 6 to 8 years old and influences a child's career choice later in their life. When looking into careers, children often look for role models or someone that looks similar to them that they can relate to. Typically, someone the same gender is someone the child will look up to more likely. Men in female-dominated careers have been shown to be at a greater risk for being unsupported, devalued, and stigmatized compared to men in other occupations. This is also a huge deterrent to young men that want to work in these positions because it forces them to either choose another career path that they may not feel as connected to, or they have to be prepared from the start to face the ridicule and constantly have to defend his masculinity to his peers or to outsiders. One suggestion by an author is to describe these female-dominated jobs in a more traditional masculine social roles and attributes. Choosing different words to describe the same job may be effective in appealing to more men than before, even though the job itself remains the same. Another deterrent to a male choosing a female-dominated career is the fact there are not as many males as in other careers. They understand that they'll be a minority. With more women entering the male-dominated workforce, the fact that men are not entering female-dominated workforces becomes more noticeable. And they realize just how minoritized they are. In addition to gender, race and socioeconomic status are also factors in men choosing a feminized career field. A white man can expect to earn the top wage in his field, but a non-white man can expect to not earn as much due to wage inequality. Historically, even though female-dominated jobs do not pay as much, the men that choose these careers still experience a higher wage and a higher chance of being promoted. This gives non-white men the advantage they were seeking in the male-dominated positions, a phenomenon that became known as the glass escalator, where men use female-dominated jobs to get promoted quickly, and also to open the doorway into the possibility of them transferring to the male-dominated careers they wanted in the first place. Men can also use this lower socioeconomic Men in a lower socioeconomic class can also use this male privilege so they can compete financially with the men in the male-dominated careers. For example, Black and Hispanic men are more likely to enter the service industry in positions that are not nurturing, but are associated with the maintenance of daily life, such as janitorial staff. This also stems from the gender hierarchy, as men, even in female-dominated careers, stand out. The men stand out more than the women. A higher concentration of minority men in female-dominated jobs comes from their acceptance of the lower prestige in order to have a higher chance of being promoted. Men who choose female-dominated jobs have different reasons for that choice. In an article for the Journal of Gender Studies, the author describes 3 of these reasons to why a male might choose a feminine job, and these are described as a takeover, an invasion, or an infiltration. In a takeover, several men will work in a female-dominated career so frequently that women become excluded from it, and it reverts to the default of a male-dominated career. An invasion is when a large number of men also begin working a female-dominated job, but not to the point the women are forced out. An infiltration is harder to spot and harder still to quantify, but it is the phenomenon of a man using a female-dominated job in order to appear as more as a leader to his male colleagues. An example of an invasion would be teaching. Before the 1860s, teaching was considered a male-dominated career field. The idea of a female teacher was about as unusual as the idea of the man staying at home and taking care of the children. This transition into a female-dominated career began during the Civil War, when all the available men were sent off to fight, leaving women and young boys to take over those jobs that they previously held. Another theory of the rise of female teachers comes from the idea that teaching the younger children is simply a continuation of a woman's domestic role of a household. In addition to teachers, male child care workers also face a stigma for his career choice. Society does not look kindly upon a male that wants to spend his entire day with young children. Many assume it's for pedophilic tendencies, even if there's no indication. In addition, male child care workers have an extra level of stress when compared to their female coworkers. On the one hand, they are in danger of being depicted as the pedophile, but the other hand, they're also expected to bring something new and innovative into the female-dominated field. Men who choose to be child care workers are questioned more frequently on why they chose their career than the women. A woman taking care of children is a societal norm. It is seen as something normal that she should want, whereas the male who wants to take care of children all day is seen as atypical and arousing of suspicion that there is an ulterior motive. Men who choose childcare point out that they are able to convey their emotions more freely than if they were surrounded by other men. This freedom, however, does not equate to allowing the male to continue this emotional display when in the company of outsiders. When they are not at their female-dominated job, they are still expected to retain a masculine identity outside of the workplace. This comes from when a male does choose to work in a female-dominated career, they are outnumbered by the women. There is a disconnect between his job and how society views masculinity. This creates an imbalance in work and home life that a man must work to correct. In America, a person's job is more defining of an individual's actions, so it makes sense that a male will want to choose something that shows to society he is an able-bodied male and capable of taking care of a family. However, for white men, there are better opportunities available for them in the male-dominated fields, and the minorities have infiltrated the female-dominated careers in order to gain that same prestige. Black and Hispanic males have created their own market towards jobs that do not fall under male-dominated but are not also completely feminized, such as those that are considered maintenance for daily life as janitors. There are many social researchers that agree that there are not enough studies conducted into males that choose female-dominated jobs. They explain that there are several social theories that could benefit from further research, and gender equality cannot be considered reached until both genders are equally represented in every career. Thank you.